Thank you. Thank you, Connor. Thank you, Kelsey. ManTalks, men, women, people, humans, sentient beings from all dimensions. Really grateful, humbled, honored to be here talking on spirituality. I was asked a couple months ago to speak at this, and it's interesting. I've been on my own personal quest for meaning and purpose and to find my place in the world for over 10 years, and when I was asked to come share on the topic of spirituality, I was at a point when I was questioning everything I've ever thought and believed and turned into my life path. And so it was interesting. I was like, okay, I know I need to say yes to this, and at the same time I have no fucking clue what I'm going to talk about. And so if you read my bio, you would probably see that I've taught a lot of meditation, probably 500 workshops in the last, since 2009, and personal growth, and launched a bunch of e-courses and stuff. So you'd think I would come talk about meditation and the importance of a daily practice and breathing, all that sort of stuff. But Connor led such a great breath practice that I think you get the picture. We should consciously breathe more. So I had to throw out my whole topic for tonight, and I'm just going to make something up. So tonight I want to talk about my biggest passion and what has become my spiritual path, and what I'm calling my path to self-mastery, because it's teaching me the most about who I am and what my potential is and how much work I have. And so I want to talk about golf. Didn't expect that. You definitely wouldn't have expected it when you saw me 6 months ago when I had hair past my shoulders. So I'll give you a little backstory on how golf has become my path and all of the steps I had to take along the way to get to here. And my intentions for tonight is that I can shine some light on your own path, and perhaps you're exactly where you're supposed to be. And perhaps you might have an epiphany. I hope so. So I became instantly obsessed with golf when I was 12 years old. The first time I ever hit a perfect golf shot, I was hooked. I would get my mom to drop me off at the golf course at 8 o'clock every single morning, and I would get picked up at 6 o'clock in the evening. I was just obsessed. I would go around in circles and just keep playing. And so when I turned 18, I moved out to Vancouver Island from Ontario to pursue my dream of playing professional golf. And after my second year, I realized that they were teaching me in college how to basically get a job, which to me, I was looking at professional golf, needing a shitload of money and needing a lot of freedom, and my 40 hours a week just would not support that. And so I have to drop out and start a business. And so that's exactly what I did. I started a t-shirt company with a buddy called Man Shirts, and we sold really offensive. I know, right? What are the chances? Here I am 10 years later. The end. It actually didn't clue in. So, selling Man Shirts, except mine was not a positive cause. I was selling really offensive, degrading t-shirts as my online business. I thought, this is a great idea. People will probably buy this. And at that phase of my life, I was spending most of my time in the bars, so I thought, it's perfect. I can do my socializing, my drinking, my selling. It's all in one place. It was very convenient. But that wasn't the case. Within a year, my life completely spiraled out of control. I got kicked out of my private golf club. I was basically drinking every single day, and I accumulated massive debt because I had no clue what the hell I was doing with my business. I was just thought I'd buy a dump truck full of t-shirts and people would start giving me money, but apparently there's a lot more to business than that. And so that was my first spiritual lesson. Up to that point in my life, I never questioned God. I never questioned reality. It just was. And then my life came crashing down, and my life became what was written on my t-shirts. That was the first real big lesson in the power of words and the power of my thoughts. And that journey spiraled out of control till one night I was walking home in a drunken rage from the bar, and I got into an actual fist fight with myself. And I kicked my ass. And it was when I woke up the next day with a black eye that I was like, how did I get so far away from who I am? I was everything that I always said I would never become. I was that guy. I was the douchebag. and I hated it. And so I had no clue that meditation existed. I had no clue about yoga, all these different holistic ways. I was just lost. But my desire to improve myself and my life was really strong. And so that started to drive me. At that point, I wasn't golfing at all. And so gratitude became my first spiritual practice. That was the thing that, like, I was learning to be grateful, like take full responsibility for my life, no longer a victim. I am grateful for every experience. I was grateful for, learned to be grateful for my crash and burn. I was learning to be grateful for everything, not just the things that I was getting, but the things that like really challenged me and forced me to grow. And I got so good at being grateful that my buddy Matthew Ashdown and my friend Mike Barton created a video called The Gratitude Dance. And that was in 2007. It kind of goes like this. And it went viral on YouTube for some reason. And so, next thing you know, I'm an international speaker and we're getting gigs, and I'm like, and all of a sudden there's this whole thing. We had a book publishing deal with Hay House. We had a really popular radio show called Manifesting Awesomeness, and I was Bratadude. I was this alter ego guy of Bratadude, and he was Matadude, and we were the Gratadudes, and that was our thing. Doing youth empowerment workshops. And so that dream, like, all of a sudden it's like, bam, going to the moon, all of our dreams coming true, like, right after watching The Secret, probably. It's like, oh my God, this really works! Why can't people get this? But then we were supposed to speak at a conference in Vegas, the I Can Do It conference, in front of like 10,000 people. And the week before that, we got a phone call from Louise Hay, and she's like, guys, I'm really sorry, but there's been a conflict of interest in the company, and we have to pull your book, and you can't speak next week. And so we'd already received the advance, and like we were gung-ho, the whole world knew we were being launched as authors, and then bam, just like that, rug pulled right out from under us. A couple months later, radio show was no more because we couldn't get another sponsor, and all these speaking tours just sort of slowly dissolved. So at that point, I was living in Los Angeles, and I was like, whoa, who was that guy? Because my whole identity was caught up in this persona of Bratadude. And I hadn't actually done the deep work of like, who the fuck is Bradley Thomas Morris? I hadn't asked that because there was so much happening and so much momentum that I got lost again. It was a positive loss this time at least, and I had gratitude as my anchor. But that was when I really got into meditation and started going super deep with my practice, and daily, bi-daily, tri-daily. I would sit on the ocean, I would go out in nature. I wasn't sitting in a classroom, I was learning from nature. I was sitting down on the beach and I would breathe with the waves for hours, and I would practice playing with my body. I would literally pass out because I would do breath techniques, I had no clue what they were, and I would like get myself to that point. And I was like, this is amazing. And so my life changed really fast on that route as I started to explore deeper with meditation. And one day a friend asked me if I wanted to teach a workshop, and so I said, sure, you do it all, and I'll show up. And then one class turned into 3 to 4 classes a week really fast. I started just guiding groups. And over the years, led 500 or more circles. I definitely lost track, and launched several e-courses that have touched people's lives in over 25 countries. And that wasn't at all a plan. It wasn't a part of my plan. It was just sort of what happened, and I was really passionate about helping people to breathe better. So I was like, sure, this feels really right. And then before the success with my e-courses happened, I was at a point that I feared the most in all my years. It was that moment that like, I was happy living with absolutely no money, but forced me to get a job, and I was scared shitless. And came a point that I was several months behind on my rent. I had no money. My meditation classes were paying me, sometimes I make $30 and sometimes I make $100, but it wasn't enough to cover all my bills. So I had to get a job. And the night before I got my job, I was like crying. I felt so defeated. But the job was at a golf course. And I hadn't picked up a club in like 6 years while I was doing all my spiritual stuff. And so I got back, and my first game, I remember, I was walking out, and I picked up my club, and it was just like all of the passion from my youth came back to me, and I was like, whoa, where was this? And so for the first couple months, I was just so grateful to be out on the course. I was just walking around, and I was just like in pure gratitude for the experience of getting to play golf again. I felt very blessed, and I was really grateful for that part-time job. And then, as time went on, I started to play with all the breath practices that I was doing, and in my meditation practices, and those two worlds suddenly just became one. And I realized that it's not like I left golf to do my spiritual stuff. It's all of that was preparing me and teaching me. It was like the Karate Kid and Mr. Miyagi doing all this crazy wax on, wax off shit that at the point it made no sense how this could relate to golf. But then when I started to play golf again, I realized like that was the missing link from my early 20s, when I would play tournament golf and I would absolutely collapse and I would snap clubs over my knees and I would just lose myself in my emotions, and I had no tools to deal with those. And now all of a sudden I have these tools. And so fast forwarding to right now, 3 years, 4 years since getting back into the game a little bit at a time, my business got me to the point. Remember that intention that I set 10 years ago to have a business that allowed me the freedom to sponsor myself to play professional golf so that I could be self-sufficient with my dream. And through the ups and the downs of all that experience, in the last year, I finally arrived at that place. And when I realized it last year, I was like, I have no choice. It was my 30th birthday, and I realized, like, I finally have a business. I have total freedom over my schedule. I play golf 5 or 6 times a week. It's time to actually take this thing seriously. Like, so I had to sit my wife down and be like, Celeste, I have had this dream since the first time I can remember hitting a golf ball. And I want to play professional golf. And like, I want this to be my path, like the thing that I do, the thing I devote myself to day in and day out in my life. And I thought it was meditation or business coaching or whatever, but the thing I think about all the time is that presence, that experience that I have when I'm out on the golf course playing my game. And so I asked her, I said, I need the next 10 years of my life, and I need your support to back me up with this dream, to support me for the next 10 years, to actually give myself the shot, to go for my dream, to actually like achieve it and take it as far as I can possibly go, whether it's the PGA Tour, the Canadian Tour, or whatever it is, to be the best version of who I can be in that game and to make the biggest difference from being that. And so I got the thumbs up. I mean, it was my birthday after all, so it was kind of like, 30th birthday, come on, babe, this happens once a life. So that was good, and so last year last year was probably, after I made that intention, it was the most difficult year of my life. The most, as though business was the most successful, I was like, felt like I got hit by a bus a lot of days. I was emotionally just messed up. Some days I would just lay on the earth and cry and like bleed whatever those fears were, those insecurities were, those pains, those stories. Like last year was a deep dive, and it was weird. I kept saying like to Celeste, I'm like, I don't know what is going on. Like, I have all these tools, but I feel anxious all the time. I am like, some days I'm a wreck, some days I'm good, but I still kept golfing. And then it was like I bled enough, and as the clock struck midnight this year, it was like a new energy came in and a new momentum. And so this year is the first year since playing college golf that like I have a full tournament schedule where it's like I've got at least 12 golf tournaments this year, some big ones, some medium ones, and it's like the dream is happening. Like I'm living what I set out to do. And most of the journey of getting to here, I was fucking clueless. I had no idea I was on the right path. I was just kind of living my life and doing the thing that I know I needed to do next. and facing the fear that would surface from having to do that next thing, whether it was teaching a workshop. Top 5 minute workshops, I still get so anxious and nervous about coming up and talking to people and doing what I'm doing. And fortunately, I have a coach now who's helping me deal with performance anxiety. But right now, with golf and how this relates to spirituality is the thing that, like, it's in me. It's my, like, so passionate about it. I wake up this morning, woke up at 5:30 a.m. I do a full yoga practice. I do my full meditation practice. I go to the golf course before the sun's come up. I hit balls in the dark. I watch the sunrise. I tee off. I play 18 holes. I come home. I work out. I do a few hours of work. And then I practice some more and I hit some balls in the afternoon. And then I do a bit more work. And I have a quiet evening. And the big lesson that I've learned over the years is I've been releasing patterns and habits and things and thoughts and beliefs that don't serve me, and I know they don't serve me, especially when they bear their face, is that I'm either living in alignment with who I want to be, what I want to do, where I want to contribute in the world, how I want to show up in my life, or I'm living out of alignment. Every choice I make is in alignment or out of alignment. And so now that I'm so clear, and if you're not clear, that's okay. It took me a bunch of years of going deep to finally know, to have that, like, oh yeah, totally, I can do that. And so that was it's been a really big realization. And so coming back into tournament golf after taking almost a decade off is like, last year I played a few and I was so scared. I remember like 3 weeks before doing my creative visualizations and I couldn't even imagine myself hitting the golf ball off of the first tee. I had so much fear and anxiety in me. And I managed to like finally get myself, work through the fears, work through it, breathe through it, do EFT through it, do yoga through it, whatever it took, journal, everything. And finally, on the first tournament, I mean, I smashed a ball straight down the fairway, which was awesome. But I was still, like, shaking. I almost blacked out because I was so nervous. And so the reason it's become this path to self-mastery is because everything I learned about meditation, being fully present and still and connected to my breath and confident in myself, and penetrating my target with the intention that that is the only thing that exists. And I've had to do this with business as well, that to only see the goal, that the hazards, the fears, everything else cannot exist if we want to hit the target. We have to let that go, we have to work through it, we have to communicate it, we have to cry it out, we have to scream it out. Whatever it takes to get rid of the fear has been such a powerful lesson. And so now as I'm playing tournament golf, it's like my emotional anxiety comes up and it's so obvious. I can't escape it. I have to, like, it's a moment-to-moment 5-hour meditation practice. Like last year when I was playing my first tournaments, I said, this is like ayahuasca, but like way more real. Like, I'm here. This is really real and I can't get away from it. And like, it was so powerful. And so I realized, you know, I've committed to this journey. I've got 10 years where, like, this is what I know I have to do. I can't make up any more excuses. I've got the freedom, I've got the support, and I have the skill. And so now I have to learn how to get out of my own way. I have to learn how to get over my fears. I have to be 100% devoted every single day to keep showing up, even when I want to sleep in till 11 o'clock, to get up at 5:30, to do my yoga, to do my meditation, to go hit balls in the dark, and then to start again the next day. And to know that, like, I have 10 years of this feels like a really, really long time. And yet here I am, one moment at a time, taking it one step at a time. And doing it. In my hopes, this is the first time I've ever shared this part of my story with anybody other than my close friends. And so my hopes are that somehow on YouTube this video circulates in like 10 years from now after I win the Masters. You're like, I was there for that speech when his journey was just beginning. And so I'm not a pro right now. I'm an amateur, and it feels really good to be where I'm at right now, because I see, in order to get to where I want to be, to who I want to be, to how I want to play the game, to how I want to show up in competitive situations, to how I want to be a champion, I have so much growth and possibility, and I can't even imagine the moments that are in front of me that are going to radically shatter every single belief. When I'm out on that course, I am creating my reality every single shot. And I believe we create our reality by getting really clear on who we want to be, what we want to do, where we want to contribute, and how we want to show up to that. And I encourage everybody to give themselves, rather than like, this is my 6-month goal or my 1-year goal, give yourself like, ask those questions and see the span of the next 10 years, something really big that gives you the like massive amount of space that you actually need to dedicate yourself to mastery within that one thing, that passion that you could wake up every single day at ridiculously stupid hours that most people would be sleeping and be so passionate, like to spring out of bed and be so stoked that you get to do the thing again. Because what I've found is like, by diving so deeply into what I'm passionate about, all of the spiritual growth happens. Like, it has to happen because I'm devoted to getting over my shit. Because I'm devoted to being the best and to showing up again and again and to like really asking myself. I have a little golf diary that every time I play a round, I write my score, I write like, what can I learn from this round? How can I grow from this experience? What was I doing right today? And so it's been an amazing, amazing discipline. And I feel like I'm just getting started. Like, first time working out in years, like the way an athlete would work out, and it feels incredible. And so I guess my final thoughts about everything is just replace my story and the word golf with whatever your thing is that you love. And ask yourself, what would self-mastery, what would mastery look like if you were to go so far down the rabbit hole, further than anybody who's ever gone as far as the rabbit hole goes, and then you would dig more and go deeper than that person has gone? What would that look like in that thing? Who would you have to become in order to like dig that deep into the rabbit hole with that one thing that you love so much? What would your life look like if it was full of that thing? Who would you have to become? It's been questions that have changed my life, and when you get clear on those questions, and then you know the answer, there's no turning back. You have to move forward. You have to do it, because it will tap you on the shoulder every freaking day, and it will remind you that you're either living in alignment with it, or you're living out of alignment with it. And thankfully, every moment is a happy new now. So you get the opportunity to reset and restart and get back on the path. And fortunately, we're on the right path right now because we're here. Clearly, we're living in alignment. So thank you for hearing some of my story tonight, everybody. I hope it's fed you some inspiration, and I hope you'll go home and journal those questions. Who do I want to be? What do I want to do? Where do I want to contribute? How do I want to show up to that? Change your reality so good. Thank you very much.